Language learning micro skills. So basically this video, guys, is going to be an educational video on language learning, and I'm just going to walk you through a visualization that I think really helps learn a language, and it's going to be about micro skills. So the reason I think most people actually give up on learning a language is, there's a bunch of different ones, but we could boil it down into it's just too hard. It's too much effort. They don't feel like they're making enough progress. It's discomfort. They perceive that discomfort and they just, they avoid it. And the reason that is I think because people kind of view language learning the wrong way. They did a study and it's a bit messed up because it was about animals. But basically what they did was they put rats in water, and the rats were actually supposed to paddle, and unfortunately it was a bit humane, but they basically wanted to see how long they'd go for until they died. And then they did another study where right before the rats, got too tired, they pulled them out, let them have a breath, and put them back in. And surprisingly, not really that surprisingly, they found the rats that they actually pulled out right before they were so tired they were going to give up were actually able to paddle for way longer, just because they believed that they could actually survive. And I think with language learning, the reason that I'm actually making that connection, and yeah, that's kind of a horrible study, but the reason I'm making that connection is because I think with language learning, people perceive that they're not actually going to get anywhere, and that it's too difficult, it's too hard, it's one, fire-breathing dragon, and so they give up. And I want to actually change that perception, because it isn't true at all, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So if you like this kind of educational content, definitely hit the subscribe button and check out my Discord in the description. But let's actually get into it. So how should we actually visualize language learning, and what are micro skills? Well, if you've ever heard the saying, eating an elephant before, that's probably a good place to start. If you haven't, it basically goes, how do you eat an elephant? You have to do it one bite at a time. It's too big. You can't just, eat the entire elephant, just like you can't learn a language in one go. It's too big of a problem. The solution is to actually break it down into smaller problems and eat it effectively one bite at a time, or I'm basically going to introduce you to the concept of micro skills. So whenever we're trying to conquer one huge goal that's too big to possibly comprehend, we need to break it down into tiny pieces. And with a language, the way we break it down from one big language is actually into micro skills. So I want you to visualize a language. We'll take Italian, for example, but it can apply to any language. It's not one language. It's not one Italian language. It's just a bunch of tiny Italian skills stuck together. So for example, Italian is greetings in Italian, numbers in Italian, colors in Italian, animals in Italian, verb conjugation in Italian. All of these, there's thousands of tiny skills in Italian all stuck together, and they form the big Italian language. So when you're actually trying to learn Italian, you're not actually trying to, slay one big dragon. You're not trying to capture one whole language. You're just trying to learn tiny skills here and there in that language. So yeah, and micro skills, by the way, can be literally anything from numbers and colors to verb conjugation and inflection. If you don't know what those words mean, that's absolutely fine. But yeah, they're literally anything from vocab to grammar rules, pronunciation, etc. They're just little topics within the language that you have to acquire over time. And I want you to kind of see it as you're just trying to acquire as many of these skills as possible. And the more skills you acquire, the better you get at the language. So if every micro skill, for example, was a point, if you think about it, native speakers have, a lot of points in that language, and you have not very many. If each micro skill is a point, a native speaker of Italian might have maybe, thousands of points, and you might only have a dozen or so if you've only been learning for, a month or a few months. So that's the reason why you can't actually speak the language that well, because, they're beating you on points, kind of like a video game. So what you actually need to do is increase how many points you have. You need to go around and learn more micro skills. You need to pick topics and, spend a week doing them with flashcards. You need to memorize grammar rules, etc. But that is how I want you to basically visualize language learning, not as one big language, but as tiny skills that you're going to acquire over time. And if you need a hand with that, comment down below. But finally, I'd just like to say, be the artist, not the soldier, guys. The artist is focused on acquiring skills and mastering his craft. The soldier is focused on destroying one massive goal. And I think when you see it as one massive goal, it's too difficult. You don't know how to do it. It's frustrating. You feel like you're wasting your time. Everyone's a scammer online. That one's not necessarily untrue. A lot of them are. But yeah, and then you give up. So I want you to visualize basically what I've gone through, and you will find it is way easier to actually learn a language. But guys, if you like this kind of content, definitely subscribe. I've got my Discord in the description. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.